everybody, this is Christina at Scrapcraft and Stitchery. Hold on. First, for purposes of recording, I want to let you know what we're doing. I'm going to do an upcycled product box journal today. This will be a writing and or junk journal. This is going to have these plain sheets that are, this is a really nice size journal. It is 7 inches by 8.5 inches tall because we're using these legal size papers, and that's what we're doing. And I've pulled out some things from my stash. It's going to have a fabric cover, a fabric and paper cover. And come along for the ride. I'm going to reinforce it with this other box. Hello everybody, welcome to Scrapcraft and Stitchery today. I am going to be putting together this journal, and I've already kind of done some of the parts, and I'm going to show you what I have in mind for it, obviously. So I'm going to cover this. I'm going to reinforce this first because this is a product box, as you can see, and I've cut it down to fit these signatures. I have 5 signatures here, and this is just, I took either 10 or 12, I don't remember because I did this a long time ago and it's been kind of sitting in my bucket of things to do. But this is legal sized sheets of copy paper, and I've folded them in half. And I have some that I have avocado dyed, but these are just plain out of the package copy paper. And so this could be used for a writing journal, or it could be used as a junk journal, and you'll just have to go a little bit extra and decorate the pages. But if you want a white background, this would be great. And so this is going to be an 8.5, and then the legal size sheets are 14, so this is 7 inches across. So it's a big journal. And I pulled out some things that I thought would look nice. I'm going to use this for the spine of the book, and this is a beautiful, fun floral fabric. And this I'm going to use on the inside to cover the inside of the spine. I love this fabric, and I'm going to run out of it, and I don't have any more. But this is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous fabric. I might have to get out the iron. Maybe we'll not pull out the iron. And then I just picked, so I'm going to use this beautiful like printed cardstock to cover the front, and it won't reach all the way across this 7+ inch journal cover. So I'm going to put this here on the front and back, and I'll cover like a couple inches, and then we'll cover that with this fun fabric. And then I'll use these as the inside cover pages. So that's what I'm doing. The first thing I want to do is, this is pretty strong, but I'm going to reinforce it and make it a little bit stronger. I have another product box, and I'm just going to cut out and glue down onto this another lining for this, so that I will cover all this product. So let's do that, and I have not done that yet because I only just decided to do this and reinforce this cover a little bit. So let me get the other box that I grabbed for this, and I'm going to break it down, and then I'm going to get that back. That box I just cut down. So here's how I'm doing this, and I love this because this is about just kind of using the things that come into your household. And I happen to have all of these Lego boxes. I have a whole pile of them over there I can use to make junk journals. And this is the great thing about junk journaling is, you know, you can just use things and recycle and not throw these into the landfill or recycling. We're going to upcycle these into something else. And I think one of the kind of exciting things is like I got the fabrics for this that I showed you, I got at a craft exchange. So those are not purchased by me. Those are things that were, I mean, kind of also came to me. So this is very much an upcycled journal with found things that might have been thrown away or discarded or were not wanted by their original owners, leftovers and things of that. And so we're making this journal out of just resources that I've collected and not paid for. So that is one of the great things about junk journaling, is that we can take things and repurpose them. And if you wanted to make a journal and you don't have fabric, you could find fabric in other places. Like I have a shirt that is beautiful print. It's got flowers and stuff on it, but it has a hole in it. And that's in my box of things to find another purpose for, because I am going to definitely use that in my journaling at some point. And also I have this other journal that's got a pair of pants that I used. It's kind of a heavy cotton fabric for those pants, and I made a journal spine cover out of that, and I can use that for a lot of different things. So, you know, even if you don't have a craft exchange where people are getting rid of their fabric, I'm sure you can find some source. You can go to the thrift store. This would be a great way to use thrift store finds and repurpose things, especially things that are, you know, maybe torn or ripped. And although I really, have you guys seen like the fabulous mending that people do on old clothing? So I'm going to use this to cover the spine, and I'll have this, and I'll have a little bit left over, I think. And I need to figure out exactly how I cut that book. So let me grab just the cover over here. Again, I can get rid of these signatures. And again, I mean, these are just papers that I counted out 10, probably 12 sheets. I like to do 12. I'm always a little bit, let's do a little bit more. In junk journaling sometimes, oh, that's going to be almost perfect. Great. I'm going to just use this as a template. They must use a standard size box for this. This is great. I am super excited to be getting this journal out of my to-do pile. Let's see how it comes out. This is going to be super exciting for me. I really like this fabric. There's that. So that is perfect, and we'll just glue these two together. I do like to get rid of these stickers that they use to close these boxes up, just because I'm never sure how my glue is going to stick. Ooh, that did not come off. It's all sticky. Okay, so we'll glue that one together. Let's set that aside. Oh no. I cut the thing off my book. That was a bad idea. We're going to have to reattach this now. Well, we're going to do something different, right? I'm going to reattach this fine. It's fine. I was going to leave it, but now we're not. This is fixable. Well, drat. Okay. I did not mean to do that. I was going to leave this But I think since our intention is to use the fabric reinforcing on this spine, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. Sorry about that. I'm not paying attention because I'm sitting here talking about supplies for your crafting, which is also a very fun and exciting thing to think about. Okay, so I have, this is now going to be our spine. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so let's cut the other side of this down. I'm going to cut off these extra flaps. We can always use these for other projects, or we can just get rid of it. It's fine to throw some things away as well. That's the thing I need to remember sometimes. You might have heard me say that if you watch enough of my videos. Let's use the cork background on this so this doesn't slide as much. That's what it's for. Use our tools the right way, and sometimes things are a little bit easier for us. And as I've said, I am all about making things. Why make life harder than it has to be? Still have that sticker stuck on my finger. This is a fun little project. This is the one we need to cut. These are what we need to cut these down to. So now I'm going to have to trim this box cover as well. That is going to be just the right size. Just the right size. This must be the same size box. Okay, so now I'm just going to, this is the front or the back cover that we've already done, that we're going to use as a template. I think this is actually going to be the better way to construct this anyway, rather than me just being lazy. And using that other hinge, and that has to be cut, and that is going to be nearly perfect. It's ever so slightly shorter, and I think that that's going to be fine. And again, I just want this book cover to be a little more sturdy. These boxes are kind of corrugated cardboard, but they're also kind of thin and they might bend a little bit, and I want them to be just kind of really nice and thick and sturdy. You can use, like if you have leftover paper packs and things of that nature, you can also use that. That one isn't quite straight there, so I'm gonna trim that just to make this nice and there you go. There you go. Okay. We are moving along. I have one more cover to cut. I'm cutting a lot of covers for this. And like I said, I mean, you could do this with just the one package if you wanted to. I happen to have an entire pile. I'm going to probably, I'm thinking, spend Saturday cutting up boxes, maybe. Because I have a very large carton of these packages, because my partner likes to put together these kits, and someday I will have to show you his whole entire Lego brick island that he's building. And I'm sure he's going to listen to this and be thrilled that I'm promising you that. This is my thing, that's his thing. And one of these is supposed to be the spine for this book. So that must be this one. And I am going to need 2 of these as well. Uh-oh. And this guy. I think that's the original one. Honestly. Okay. It must be because it's cut already. So this will be our spine, and we're going to cut this down to the right size and put this all together. I guess other things you're going to need for this is some, I'm going to use probably a combination of bookbinding glue and I'm just going to cut that off on the very ends and hope it's the right size. So you'll need your, basic bookbinding supplies, and you're going to need, so I like to use some glue. There is a link in the bottom of this, in the description of this video, there's a link to some very reasonably priced bookbinding supplies that I like to use, including the bookbinding PVA glue that I use for bookbinding. You can also use Fabrifix. I think a lot of people like to use Fabrifix in the junk journaling world, and that would work for this as well. Not that one, because that one is not the right one. Great. Do we know how big this is? It is a little bit more than 1 inch. Okay. We're going to use this as a guide to cut this. I'm just super excited to get this journal done today. These make great gifts. I have a couple journals that I need to send to my nieces that I made for them a long time ago. My family is disabled when it comes to actually sending packages in the mail, so I shouldn't say that since I have an Etsy shop. There's a disability I am willing to overcome. And I am going to line this up and use this as a template to cut this because I think that's going to be the easiest way to do this and get the 2 that are the same size. Great. This is a way you can make, especially if you're using something, these are kind of thicker and I probably don't need to reinforce this so much. And it would be fine if I just used the one. But if you are using something like a cereal box or a cracker box, which I have used in the past, you might really want to put 2 of these together. And I have done that and I have not done that. Another great source for chipboard is if you have packs of paper. The back often has some really nice chipboard. So I'm going to glue these together and I'm going to glue these glossy pages down and kind of put those together. And that is absolutely lovely, and that's going to be our spine. And then I am going to do the same for the 2 covers. I'm just checking to make sure that they're the same size, which they are. And let's put that away. And I'm just using my glue stick. I'm going to get most of this together so that it's stuck and we don't have to worry about that. All right. there is that. Press these down, make sure that they're even. I think they're going to take a minute to dry. Oops, sorry. I'm sure shook the camera. Okay. We'll try to be more gentle and less crazy here. I'm trying to just get the edges really good and the corners. And then this is got really terrible sticker. It's like half peeled up. Okay. If I don't get the entire inside, that's okay. As long as it's stuck on the corners. And even then, I mean, we're going to cover this next with our beautiful papers and fabrics, and I'm super excited. I think this is going to be just really, really pretty. I'm going to do pamphlet binding on this. And so you'll see the stitching on the cover, or on the spine for this, and I might use black. I'm already thinking ahead, right? 12 steps ahead. I have some black embroidery, like wax linen thread actually, that I can use. I might have some blue. We'll look and see what I have in the stash. That will match that fabric. I think this spine is ever so slightly smaller than the actual book. We can either cut those down to match the spine, or we can say that it's just going to be smaller. I think we have room at the top and the bottom to cut these covers to match, because we have probably 1/8 of an inch, maybe less, and I think that'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut these down just so that, see, like, this is all even, and we are going to have plenty of room. The other thing I could do is I could cut a little bit of off these signatures off the bottom. I could also do that, but I'm going to mark this with a pencil where I want to make this cut. All right, mark that there. And I will mark this here. Woo. Okay. That should make our life easier. Let me go to line this up. We should be able to get these to the same size. Making adjustments. I thought we were done with you. I'm going to stand up for this. Okay. Cut through both of those layers. Just being careful not to cut my fingers off. All right, look at that. Okay. Just a little corner left. All right. Now, line this up. And then we can get to the fun part. There we go. Now everything should be the same size, and it's going to fit our signatures very nicely. And I'm just going to get rid of these things. Sort them out. Some of these smaller pieces I'm just going to throw away. I'm going to throw away this because it's damaged. But these top flaps I'm going to keep for something else in case I need another spine. These smaller pieces I am going to get rid of. And we will call that that. So now we have a double reinforced product box, and what we want to do is we want to cover this. We want to do it without messing up our one sheet of paper. So what I am going to have to do, and I have one 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and I'm going to set this over here. You guys watch me and let me know. So I have this, and it's got this beautiful diamond pattern on it. And I'm going to cut this in half is what I'm going to do. So this is 12 by 12, so I'm going to cut this to 6 inches as soon as I find my paper cutter. And 6 inches, okay. Trusty paper cutter. And I can cut this to 6 inches, and that should be half of this. If you want to double check, you can. This is in fact 12 inches because, you know, it is exactly 12 inches. Now, 6 inches is not going to be enough to cover this entire book, which is why we are brilliantly going to use this fabric on the spine. I do kind of want to get this straight. Sorry, it's just not lining up quite as much as I would like. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that edge is not as straight. Okay, so we're going to cut this in half. So we'll have 2 pieces, one for the front cover and one for the back cover. And they are almost exactly the same. Not quite, but good enough. So obviously this is not going to be enough to cover our entire cover, but we will have that fabric that's going to come and magically cover the rest of this for us. So there is that. And we're going to have to leave a little bit of space over here for this to hang off. So there's that. And then we don't need all of this. We can go and cut a little bit off the bottom of this as well. So we can just leave like, I think, 1/2 inch here for folding. So on the top and the bottom. So if this is, how big is this? This is, oh, I already said, it's very nearly 8.5. So this is like 8 3/4. So if we cut this at 9 3/4, guys, that'll give us 1/2 inch on the top and the bottom. So we will pull this out and cut this right at 9 3/4. And then we should have enough to cover the front and the hat, right, oh golly, to cover this book. Okay, there we go. So now we have this and this, and we're going to cover our book and we will cover this part of this, and then we'll flip this over, and on the back we're going to put this. And that's going to leave, I don't know, about 1.5 inches of non-covered spine. And so we'll have that beautiful fabric covering that part. And that is going to be absolutely beautiful. So maybe is what I want to do is go back and score this. And just looking at this, I can definitely score like about 1/2 inch in. And you don't have to do this, and I don't often do this. Something sticky here. So I don't often score this, but I'm going to score it today. And that's just going to help this. It's going to help me line this up, honestly. It can only help me. And I will score this. This is a great tool. I'm not sure. I kind of looked for these the other day and I couldn't find it, so hopefully they didn't stop selling this. I think you can still get the scoreboard from this is We Are Memory Keepers. And this is kind of an all-in-one tool. You've got your paper cutter, but it does all kinds of things that I've never done with it, like making tassels and stuff. So I'm just going to score that at 1/2 inch on each side so that I can line this up a little bit better, and it's going to make a little bit better folds for me when I go to wrap this. So I'm just lining it up with this edge where the cutter is, because that's kind of the 0 mark, and scoring at 1/2 inch. I am looking now to see where I want my corner to be on this one. I didn't look on the other one. And where I want it to be under the fabric. And I'm doing this twice because I'm just doing it once so I can see, and I'm doing it once so that this paper is a little directional. It's a little directional. The way that it's printed, it has a little bit of a corner already, and I kind of want to use that in the design of this cover, but it's not super noticeable either. But there is kind of like a corner here, so I kind of want to put that in the... well, we didn't do it right. It's going to be over here. That's fine. As I said, it's not super noticeable. Okay. So now I have scored these, and I have kind of a front and a back, and this is just going to allow me to align these papers and know where to put them and exactly where I want them. because I have this bit right here that is not going to be covered, and just to kind of continue to give myself a little bit of a guide, that is going to be fabric on this side of the spine. This would be easier if this was not such a nicely sized, if this was not a, you know, I could just get 2 sheets of 11.5, 8.5 by 11 paper. And if this was a smaller book, this would work really great. But this is a behemoth, very exciting. I mean, I'm excited to have this format because it's just going to give you like this extra real estate by using just the slightly different, bigger papers. And I think that's going to be so nice to work in. This is about the 3rd journal that I've made that's like in this size. And I have not yet worked in one, but I think that that is just a super exciting thing. I just think it's a really super exciting size. So now I can line that up there, and I've got this side marked, and then these score marks will help me line that up there. So I can get these pages right where I want them. So I'm going to add glue and glue this down on the front and the back. Yes. Okay, so this is the other one that I made, one of the other ones that I made, and this is just, I don't even remember what I did with this, but I did do the same construction with the spine, and this has like these beautiful, I avocado dyed the paper for this, so they're kind of pink. Some of these might be coffee dyed, I'm not really sure. They're pink and crinkly, and love this journal, and it's very pretty, and it's in some just pretty scrap looking fabric, and I used this, this is the exact same way that I made this. I made this a long time ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago. Probably 2 years ago I made that, and it's got the same construction. Beautiful journal, very empty, have not cracked into it and used it at all. I was going to use it as a writing journal because and so I filled that book. Has got probably very nearly 200 pages, I think, maybe more pages, and just haven't been writing in it. I do write. I do fill these journals, guys. I do. I promise. Okay, back to this. Focusing. Out of the dream world of showing you all of these beautiful books that I just happen to have sitting on my desk. This is one of the brilliant things about this, is I get to have all these beautiful journals that I can flip through and show you how empty they are. This is the bookbinding glue that I use. This is nice glue. And I'm going to reach over here and find this cardboard is going to absorb a lot of this glue. So you want to kind of be generous with it and spread it out evenly and get enough down there. I'm just using a paintbrush. Probably shouldn't use this for paint again. It's hard to get all the glue out, but you can just use the same one over and over if you rinse it out well. This is also very much a case of do as I say and not as I do, because I definitely will put this right back in all my other brushes. I don't keep these separate. So it's definitely going to get picked up and used for paint the next time I want this size brush, which is fine. Okay, we have not too much time here, but this will get a little bit tacky on us, and you just want to make sure you cover this well. And I am now going to flip this over and lay this down in here like this. That's just the best and easiest way to go. Now, as I'm trying to adjust, my two halves are not perfect. Okay, so I think I've got everything aligned the way I want here. Just a little bit careful here. A little bit careful. There we go. Okay, I'm going to set this aside and let this one dry while I glue the other one. You want to be careful to not get your glue all over your cover here, because that's going to make us very sad. Okay, so same thing with the other one. Generous amounts of glue. I've been making a lot of books. I'm gonna have to buy another thing of this glue. Okay. Once I get this all spread out, it's not going to be as much as I think. Right now, I think I put way too much down. Okay. This will kind of wrinkle if you go too far overboard. And that is a thing we would kind of like to avoid. I'm just spreading this out evenly. Just over this corrugated, slightly corrugated cardboard. The thing is, if you have paper packs, as I was saying, you get a nice smooth cardboard. This is just a little bit, but I mean, you can also buy chipboard, but you know, junk journaling is about using the things we have and the things that we find and the things that come to us. So here we go. And now, how did I do the last one? I'm going to kind of line this up, turn this so I can see it, and just lay this down using my score marks as a guide to get it aligned. Okay, I think we have the front and the back of this glued down. We are one step closer. Right? Okay, so I'm going to set this one aside and let it dry briefly while I do this guy. Now, of course, what we have to do is find a place for our paintbrush. I'm just going to stick it in my bucket kind of haphazardly there while I grab my scoring tool, and I'm just going to use this to, you know, kind of start to work these score marks up. Thanks for being here today, guys. I am kind of super excited to be putting this journal together. I hope that you're enjoying this, kind of crafting along with me, or I don't know, do you guys make your own journals? What do you use for journals? Do you just like watching other people craft? Who's out there and what are you doing today? That's what I want to know. I am not gonna, you can trim the corners. I like to just glue them down. And so that's what I'm gonna do next. I haven't rinsed out my glue brush. So I am trying to get a little bit quickly here, and I'm just gonna add some glue onto that paper. And I think that is enough. It doesn't really take very much. And I'm working that down because this is pretty thick here because we've reinforced that cardboard. I'm gonna work it down. So especially while it's wet, it will kind of bend a little bit and have a little bit of give when we put that glue right on there, and I can work these edges down. The nice thing about this is that I only have to do 4 edges for this because I'm not covering this whole thing. Okay, that we might need to put a little more glue. So I'm going to do the corners on this other one before I go on and do the edges for that other one. And so I'm just going to do this. I think this gives me a nice edge. I think this gives me a nice corner because I'm keeping this and I don't have a lot of excess. If I had a lot of excess paper, I probably might not do this. It makes it a little more, ooh, we got happy with the glue there, didn't we? Okay. Okay. There is that. We'll work that down. Work it down, work it down. Focus. You can tell when I'm focusing because I have stopped talking. Okay, so what I'm doing way down here in the corner where you can't see is just more of the same. I am using my tool to work these corners down so they lay kind of flat, taking advantage of the fact that this glue has made my paper just a little bit wet. It's going to stretch a little bit and kind of start to find its new home here on this corner and covering this corner. And this is going to give us nice corners when we now get to do, we're getting close. We are getting close here. Are you excited? Can you feel this? Okay. I'm going to do the top and the bottom at the same time. And I'll go skip over to the other side and do the top and the bottom at the same time. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue and then I'm going to brush it out. And then I'll do the edges. And then we will have the front part of our paper cover, the paper part of our cover, done. And then we will cover the inside of this last. Then we can put the spine together with this. Okay, and I'm just going to pull this up and lay it down, and I'm going to kind of work it down, and I'm going to make sure it's sticking for me really well. Okay, that's very nice. Okay, that's sticking. Let's see if we can get this one to stick. We could have made this a little bit, but we'll cover this. I have plenty of paper. I have 2 sheets of the inside covers over there, and we have plenty of paper to cover the inside of this all the way to the edges. And it's this beautiful golden color, and it's gonna be really pretty. And also I like to cover the inside of my books with like an envelope or something anyway, so, you know, I'm gonna put this really pretty paper, and then I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna brush this one out. Okay. Yeah, ugly, dirty glob of glue there. Okay, and now just the same thing. We're going to bend this up, cover this, just like we're wrapping a present, because we kind of are. Journals, a beautiful present to ourselves or to somebody else. Okay, that is nice. We'll get this one worked down. Just a little bit of patience, just a little bit of attention to detail, and this is going to happen beautifully, beautifully. And this is going to be a really pretty corner. I can tell already. Okay, flip it over. Make sure we haven't gotten glue schmooched on there. All right, so now I bet you know what's coming next. These corners, or the edges of the book, the front edges of the book. If you were going to put a closure on, I think this is a good time to think about that. I am not going to put a closure on this book. It is not my plan today. But if you were, this is getting close to the time when you might want to start thinking about decorations that you might want to put on the front, because if you punch holes and put decorations on, then you can cover it up with this paper on the inside and hide your hardware or whatever it is. But again, not in the cards for this guy. He's going to be pretty enough and have enough going on with that fabric over there. Can you see it? There it is. Yes. There it is. And I do have that pretty also golden. I don't know what it is with me. I am just in the mood to work with like this gold and mustard colors right now. Obviously, I am making another journal out of that other fabric this week, and I don't often work with yellow. Honestly, I love it, and it reminds me of just bright sunshine and maybe summertime, and it's such a happy color. But I definitely, I think I don't like to wear yellow, and so I just never think about it. But I'm super excited that I'm getting to, because like I said, it's just such a bright and happy color. Okay. That is what we have done. Now, let's clean off our surface just to make sure we don't have glue going on. And I just have a baby wipe, and I'm gonna clean up any glue and stickiness and unhappiness that's going to preventative measures here. Preventative measures. Okay. So, I suppose it doesn't really matter, but this is right side up. Maybe not for you, but for me. So, we might want to cut this fabric. Oh, wait. We might want to put the spine in before we make any rash decisions that can't be changed. Okay. Let's see. We have this square of fabric, and I'm going to keep this because I'm going to wrap this over. But let's think. This is a 10-inch square, and this is a 1 and almost a half inch spine, and we can potentially, well, let's think about this. 1.5 inches off of our 10 inches is going to leave us with 8.5 inches, and we're going to leave a bit of space here for the spine so that this book can still open and close but that's only going to be about, it's dependent on how thick this is. So I don't think we need to have this much fabric, because when this comes up, how much of this yellow do we want to cover? And that does not look straight. To me, all things being equal, we might have to cut this so it's straight anyway. But if we use this whole thing, I mean, it's going to cover like more of this than I want, and I don't think that is what I want. So let's just measure this by eyeball. I think that like this much would be fabulous. Right? Is that where we want that? You definitely want to cover, like, come over that. So I think about, let's say 3 inches over. I think that's too much. I think we really want like about 2.5 inches there. I'm just trying to make this so that I think it looks right. And so that it covers the whole bit. I'm gonna look at this and see what I think. I think I want this to be the front. I don't suppose it really matters. And it does not really matter. Let's plan on this one because we didn't cut this paper quite in half, so let's plan for this guy. And how many inches do I want to cover looking at this? And I want to make sure I have definitely enough if I'm going to cut this fabric. I am going to cut the ends to straighten them, and I'm going to use my rotary cutter, and I'm going to do it very smart. Two and a half it is. 2.5. So I want 2.5 on each side. Plus this. And this is 1.5 inches. Not quite, but we'll call it 1.5 inches. We're going to call this 1 inch and 3/4. Okay. Now, we're going to do the hard math here. I just want to make sure that I'm getting enough of this and my glue is drying out on the brush. Okay. Building a schematic, which looks terrible, but that's fine. So I want to say that this is 1/7/5, and this will be, this gutter is going to be 1/8 of an inch, and this will be 1/8 inch. This is 1 point, I'm gonna call that 1.5. It's not, but it's fine. It's just gonna be a little bit more on this side and a little bit more on this side. And here I wanna have 2 1/2. And here I wanna have 2 1/2 for the fabric. Okay. So that's 5 for those sides, and then this is going to be, I need about 1/4 of an inch here and here, just to leave a little bit of room. Plus, so this will be 2 inches altogether for the spine, okay, because this is 1 1/2 plus 1/4. Oh, it's plus 1 1/2 is going to equal 6 3/4. Okay, so I want this fabric to be like approximately 6 3/4 inches to allow for 2 1/2 inches to add 1 3/4 inches to include the spine and the gutter for the spine to go in to allow our book to open and close nicely. So that's where we want to cut this. So, and we want to have a very nice and neat tear. Okay. Look at how beautiful this fabric is. I don't have any more of this fabric. If I mess this up, I'm going to have to find something else. So, I am going to tear this here at approximately 1/2 inch from the edge, because I want this to be straight. I also want it to have a torn edge because I do. I wonder if I should back this with paper. I think I'm going to actually maybe back this with paper and glue this down to a sheet of paper before I put it on there, just to give it a little bit of something, maybe. Stabilizer, a fabric stabilizer would be good too. Or I could just glue another piece of fabric on there. This is just very thin paper. It's very thin cottony fabric. So it doesn't really matter where I do this, I don't suppose. I do all this like really, really fancy. I don't see my fabric scissors. That is, I think, what I'm going for here, and I just don't see it. Because it's behind me for whatever reason. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I don't think these edges are like particularly straight, as I have seen, as I have been measuring. And now I'm just gonna tear that, and this will give this a nice frayed looking edge that's going to come up against this very diamondy pattern in a new and exciting way. And just give it a little bit more personality. I might do a zigzag stitch or something along the edge of this also, just kind of give it a little bit more finished look as I'm tearing fabric. I like that. I have black thread in my sewing machine. It would be just a fabulous thing to do. So I'm going to sew along this edge with a zigzag stitch. Okay, so there's that, and hopefully it should tear fairly straight along here. I'm just gonna work this out because now it's kind of puckered. Working, working, working. Okay. That's beautiful. Great. And now I'm gonna get out my ruler. Sorry, didn't have to go anywhere, which is covered in washi tape. From our other adventures here at the Scrapcraft and Stitchery. Thank you. So now is what I want is to measure this at the magical amount of 6 3/4 for our second very, very precise ripping exercise. It's going to be right there. Right there. So I just make a little notch with my super sharp scissors. I have this beautiful piece of fabric left, which we will save to do something else with. I should have like a scrappy Saturday or something and put all my scraps from the week in a bucket and be like, okay, use these. Look at that. I love this fabric. This fabric is so cool. It's just vibrant and flowery and wonderful. Okay, so now we have this. And as I said, I am going to do a stitch just up and down these edges at probably 1/4 of an inch on my sewing machine, because it's here and I'm here and I want to start using that more. And so I'm just going to pull that out and quickly do some kind of a decorative stitch down the edge of this fabric. Also, I mean, it's all set up. I have black thread in there for, you know, obviously sewing on paper, but I'll give the sewing machine a special treat and allow it to stitch away on something that is not paper. Let's take a look at what this is gonna look like. And then that will be there. This will be a little bit farther over. It's going to cover. Let's try this. I think we can do this. I think we can do this. If we line these two up and we'll put this one underneath, we will make sure that we have enough fabric and that Christina has not once again messed up her measurements. And we can start to see what this book is going to look like. And the yellow, and I just really love it. Let's look under here. Take a peek, take a peek, take a peek. See, look at these flowers right here. I wanted these. Look at these. That's what the spine's gonna look like. Okay. Calm down. Okay. Don't calm down. Never calm down. This is amazingly exciting. Okay. We have gotten to the point where we can pull out the machine. One sewing machine. I'm glad I put that paintbrush over there. I need to pick some form of wonderfully beautiful decorative stitch out of, I have too many. And I'm just going to sew right along the edge of here. Hi guys, I went away and I came back, and so here I am. And I went away to sew this on my machine and I did a decorative stitch along here. And the first one didn't go very well, so I wound up putting a piece of paper on, pinning a piece of paper on to the back of this, and to stabilize it, just to kind of help me get it straight. And it's a lot straighter, maybe not perfectly straight. So I just ripped off this bit, which I kind of went awry, But now there's this paper strip in the back, and I think that's going to help us to kind of glue this down, and I'm pretty happy with this at this point. So I just sewed this like along the edge, and it's now got this decorative stitch, which kind of blends into the fabric. But I think it's going to add just a little bit of detail here that's going to be really nice. So now the next thing, now that we have this, I'm just going to trim this where it's not completely straight without cutting my fingers off. Here on Scrapcraft and Stitchery, we can cut things with sharp scissors without cutting our fingers off. Okay, I'm just going to trim this a little bit where it's gone a little wild. Okay, I like this a lot. So, even though I didn't show you this sewing part, we have these two covers, and we are gonna glue this part onto our covers so that everything is starting to come together. So I'm just gonna line these up where I want them, and then I'm gonna put the spine down, and I might mark this again just where I want it so that I know how I want this. And I'm just using these lines on my cutting mat here to kind of line this up. And I'm just going to eyeball this. I am going to go back and glue this spine down first, and then this will just kind of come this way, so I kind of want to get that in the middle of this. And we'll glue this down like that, and then these covers are going to come like this. Let's have a look and see, just to make sure. So you want to leave a little bit of a gutter here so there's room for this book to close. Open and close, open and close. You don't want to put it, and that's probably how I'm going to do that. I'll lay this here, and then I'll have this length of the book to cover. And because I tore this down, it's going to be a little bit. It's gonna be enough, guys. It's gonna be enough. It's a little bit shorter than I wanted because I did tear that little bit off, but I think that's gonna look really good. And there we go. Two mistakes here. So I'm gonna move this out just enough that there's kind of a width of the thickness of this. And we'll lay this one down. One thing we want to make sure here is that I'm going to have enough fabric here to cover moment of truth, and it is good and good. So I'm gonna move, put some glue on here and glue this down, and I'm gonna center it right on this fabric. And I'm going to add the glue to here. And I think I'm going to have to add the glue to the fabric on the other parts. But for this, I can do it on here, and I like that a little bit better. So let's go with that. And I'm going to have to find another brush because I threw that one in my water already. So we'll have a new glue brush here. Okay. This journal is coming right along. Pretty soon we are going to have at least the vision of what we're trying to do here. I did not mark this fabric. A smarter person might have done that, but at least there's this. Okay? Woo! Okay. Let's try and line it up on the top and the bottom. We don't have a lot of room for this to fold over the top and the bottom. Is it straight? That's a good question. We do want to get this glued down so that it is nice and glued, if that makes sense, versus not nice and glued. So that's good. I think it's sticking. Just going to burnish it down. And we're going to use that other beautiful golden fabric that I love to use on the other side. So now we're going to have to put the glue on this fabric. And we don't really want to put it in here, but we do want to put it where these are going to be. So I am going to kind of make some marks here. And so I'm going to just measure that like that. And then I'm going to go in and use this pen to mark along this line where I want the glue to go. Or rather, where I do not want the glue to go. And I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. It just might make the fabric a little hard right there if we get glue on it. And do we want to do anything to kind of reinforce this? Oh, I just measured and then I moved it right away before I marked it. Brilliantly. So you just want to leave, like, I'd say about 1/8 of an inch here. And I'm really just measuring like the width of my book, the height dimension of my book, to give that a little bit of room to move. And I like that we put this paper into this decorative stitching because it's going to give it just a little bit of stabilization. I'm going to try and get this on there, stretch this out a little bit so it doesn't wrinkle. Okay. What is the best way to put glue on here? Okay. Not even enough. We could put the glue on here and then put the fabric on. I'm just kind of a little bit worried about us getting glue where we don't want it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the glue on the book, and I'm going to put the book down. Okay. I like this better. And I'm going to be careful to not cover, but I did leave a little bit of fringe there that's going to be up, and I'm not too worried about that because this is the line I'm going to cover. I'm going to put that down onto there like that. And that is how I am going to do this. And okay. So now we just have to get the glue up to that line and no further. But we do want to get it right up to that line. And we have a little bit of leeway where it's going to be covered by fringe. Okay. I'm working out all our problems here today, and it's not a big deal. Guys, what are you doing today? I hope you're having a great day. I am having a beautiful day. Just here in my craft room at my studio. This is kind of just living the dream for me, honestly. That I get to have this time to do this. And I am just appreciating every second of it, honestly. There is no place I would rather be than right here doing what I'm doing. So I hope that that is where you are too. Okay. That is going to be amazing. And then I'm just going to do the other side the exact same way. Okay. This is a process. Oh my gosh. Oh, I am loving this so much. Okay. I feel like it's going to be more difficult going the other way. I feel like it could have gone a little bit that way. It's a little bit more than I had really intended. But hey, you know, this is all good. We're gonna work that other fabric down into there, and I think that's gonna kind of take up a little bit more of that space. So, same way. Doing this the same way, and I know why. It's because we have a double thickness here doing it this way. We will glue that other fabric down in there anyway to really reinforce that spine when we get to the next step. In the next steps. So I'm going to mark this, and I'm pulling this kind of as tight as I can. This is, oh, let's not get that little fringe in there. Don't want that to be glued down. And so I'm just marking where this stitching ends. And that's where I'm going to glue this. Okay. And I'm going to mark it here. So that we're like gluing down to the stitching is the plan for this. And then the fringe part will kind of be free to move around. But that stitching will keep it from unraveling more. It is not just decorative, it does have a function, but I think it's going to be really pretty. Decorative and functional. Fun being the key part of functional. Okay. We're just going to add enough glue without adding too much glue. And again, this cardboard is a little bit, how do you say, absorbent of this glue. And now that my paintbrush is full of glue, I have a little bit extra. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we might have to go back and also sew a decorative border on that other fabric. I feel like this is going to be a very long video. I think I started a new one. I'm going to have to edit this together. But carefully gluing right up to our line. This is all going to be covered up, so I don't have to worry about that. We're covering that up. Okay, brilliant there. So now what do we do for this? We'll just repeat what we did. We're going to line that up right there. And then we're going to fold this over, and I want to pull this a little bit tight when I do that so we get out any wrinkles. No wrinkles, no wrinkles. Pull this tight, and that is going down beautifully. The glue is grabbing it, giving it good wishes. Just a little bit of movement because we have that gutter where it's going to move, but this is where that lives now. And now, oh, and I always get glue on this one side. Always with the glue on the back side. Don't know how I am so talented at doing that. Okay. And that is our book. And I think it looks beautiful. I'm super happy about this. How we've reinforced this and how thick it is, and I am actually really happy about the way that this binding is coming out the way that it is. So I think the next step, so this will cover down like that. We're gonna have to make sure we cover that because it's not quite far enough, guys, right there. And then there's more down here. Beautiful. Okay, so the next step, if you're still here, is to make these cover pages because we want to have that beautiful gold fabric. We are getting there. So I have this, and we need to cut this down so that it will fill up just the inside cover and the inside cover like to about here. So let's do a little measure and see how big we want this. And I think if we go 7, we can probably go in further. We're going to leave about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or so here and here. Oh my gosh, it is hot in here all of a sudden. I think we can cut this at 5.5 because we have room to play with here. I think 5.5 will be fine for the width. And then I need, how much do I need? If I do this at 8.5, that's going to be a little bit too much. I think like 8.25 is going to be better. 8.25, which means I can use just one of these because that, if I cut this in half, that's going to give me 5.5, and this will be 8.5 because this is 8.5 by 11, guys. Beautiful. So I'm going to get to keep one sheet, and I want to show you this. This has a beautiful pattern on the back. This is from Club Scrap Papers. I should really look and see if you can even still get that because that was a long time ago. I'm going to put my treasured paper back, and I'm going to get my paper cutter. And I'm going to cut this in half, and that is going to be I'm going to cut off just one tiny strip off of this side because I'll have a little bit more at the top and the bottom. And then I'll cut this at 8.5 or 5.5. 5.5. It always throws me off. That does not look right to me. It should be 5.5. Hold on. I'm gonna just mark this. I don't know why I'm not trusting my paper cutter today. All of a sudden I'm just kind of like, I am just in a measuring kind of a mood. We've already kind of had two little things that I've had to overcome. I don't want to overcome another one. Okay. Sure enough, we're fine. That should be half. And it is. Always be skeptical. That's what I always say. Skepticism. Okay. So we can glue our cover page on. And that's going to look good. And that's going to cover that. And this is going to cover this. And everything's going to be covered as much as we need. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about, guys, is this right here not coming down far enough, but we're just going to make sure we cover that with our gold fabric. And our gold fabric is going to cover the rest of this. And look at how pretty that is together. And I can just get a piece of this and it's going to go on the inside of here. And it's going to cover the center part of this book, and it's going to add a little bit of stability down into this gutter and kind of take up some of this extra space. When we put that down, we'll work it down in there and like kind of connect these two fabrics, and it's going to be, oh, this is going to be just such a yummy, yummy, yummy journal. And I am going to use that kind of little bit rougher edge just because it's a little more interesting and it's a nice little detail. Now is what I might do is I think I'm going to go in and ink this. To give it just a little bit of something. Little details here can make all of the difference. So let's take the time, and now is our moment. I'm going to get some distress ink and I'm going to ink that edge just a little bit. Not going overboard. No going overboard here. Just a little bit of inking. If I can find a dauber to do that. I put them all away. Imagine that. Okay, these are great. Great little daubers. I'm not going to worry about this edge because that edge is going to be on the inside. But I am just going to give this a little bit of inking because, quite frankly, in the last book that I made, I kind of looked at it and I said, you know, I should have inked that edge before I put it in. So I'm fixing it in this book because experience. Okay. I think that gives it just a tiny bit more interest, a tiny bit more attention to detail here. And we are paying attention to all the details. Now I could have used black ink for this, but the brown is fine. Okay. I am feeling a little bit, I don't know, like have some reservation on the black. Okay, so that gives that just a little bit of an extra feel here along the edge of that. It's a little more finished. Ah, yummy. Finished and yummy. Okay. Now the magic is about to happen. I'm wondering if I should glue this fabric down first. I might do that. I'm going to put a little glue on these ends. Just glue this fabric down. Before we glue down these end pages, so that they may get caught underneath that. So we're not jumping around. In a perfect world, if I had had a little more fabric, which I didn't, I might have actually left myself a little more room. But, you know, we're working with what we have, so this is what we got. So that will go underneath there. And this will go underneath here. And that is going to work beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. Let's get rid of this because it's in our way and we don't foresee needing to ink anything again. Put that on the table behind us. Okay. This is really just starting to come together and be like absolutely, there you can see, I mean, that's what this book is going to look like. It's just starting to come together beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. We could not ask for more here. Okay. I absolutely love making books. I love it when they come together. I used to love to read. I don't read nearly as much as I would like anymore. But I always had this love of books, and not just like reading the books. I mean, the stories in books are fabulous, and don't get me wrong, I do love a good story. But I just love the smell of a good book, and you know, the feel of it. And I also just have this thing for like blank journals. It's just such a magical thing. It can become anything. There's always this romance. I'm gonna need a little bit more glue. If you're feeling super adventurous, you could do this with glue stick. There are definite advantages to using a glue stick for this. And I think these Scotch permanent glue sticks that I have are really good glue, and I trust them. Would definitely make sure that that's going to hold up over time before I did that. Now this is directional, and we want to get it in the right place and centered where we want this. And look at that. I might have to continue this. I still have to do the pages for this journal, and I might do that in a separate video. These videos get, I know, really super long. I could edit them and make them a little bit shorter. I should stop saying things like that. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. That is in the future. I am not I'm not a fortune teller, but I do have some control over that, I guess. Okay. Through the magic of making videos. This one, I definitely got more glue on than the previous one. And I think the previous one has enough glue. Eventually, these two papers are all going to kind of become one thing. That's the magic of glue, right? And hopefully, we're gonna get glue all over our project, which is not what we want. I'm gonna turn this way and put it over here just to be safe. And again, just lining this up, and I'm just doing this by eyeball to kind of cover it where I want. I think it's going to be okay if that's its permanent home. Okay, burnish this down. We're using the whole desk here today. The whole desk. All right. Oh, yes. Okay. I just have to say, this is beautiful. Okay. And we did not get that down quite as much as I would have liked, but hey, you know, handmade items, on sale here. I'm gonna use this selvage edge, I think. What are we doing? Okay, I'm gonna line this up. So I have a piece that is as big as this, plus maybe just a skosh bigger. Skosh. That is a very technical term. And I am gonna go ahead and not iron this out, this fabric. I should just maybe wash it, throw it in the dryer. I don't know. That's what my mom always said. Don't iron it, just throw it in the wash with a wet towel. And it'll be fine. I do like that selvage edge. I think it's just beautiful. So what I like to do here is I like to have this inside binding fabric. This is a much heavier piece of fabric. It's almost like a linen, maybe? I don't know. I got it secondhand. I would guess that this is maybe a linen. Absolutely beautiful fabric. I am looking for my scissors. Looking for my scissors. Okay, so I'm just gonna try and cut this where that edge is. So this will be the same size as our piece on the outside. Okay? Now that I have a hole, I guess I'm gonna have to snip it to get it started. So it's actually on an edge where I can grab it. Tearing. It does not want to tear this way. Okay, it's going. It doesn't want to. This is not the way to tear this fabric. Okay. Tearing. Ooh, okay. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Okay. It helps if you yell tearing while you're doing your crafting. We have enough, for sure. And we should have left enough to tear that other edge. Look at how beautifully that's fraying. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then there's that at the bottom where I made that hole. Don't do that. Do we have enough to... Yeah. Excuse me. So you can cut most of that off. I need to do another tear on this side. It's going to be a small tear down this other side, and then one at the bottom. And hopefully this is enough. And of course it's not enough. We have some leeway here. We do have some leeway. So that's good. We like having leeway. This is gonna work. Ready? Ooh. Let's see. With my better hand. We're tearing this. My phone is just... I seem to be very popular today. Anyway. Come on, fabric. You're holding up the show. I am not strong enough. I might have to wait for my boyfriend to come back and be like, here, can you tear this fabric for me? He'll be like, what? Oh my gosh. Oh, I am terrible, but look at this. Ah! Okay. What is a girl to do now? I have a problem. I'm just gonna unravel this side. Now, is it the right size if I just unravel that without doing this? It's gonna be a little bit bigger than I want it. And I think that is going to just be the way that it is, because sometimes that is just the way that it is. I'm going to cut it even with this, and then I'm just going to unravel it by hand, because I think that that's going to be easier than trying to tear off this little tiny bit. Forget what I said. I don't want to cut any more of this off. Just unravel some. And I think the way this is actually like woven type fabric, because I do think that it is a linen, and it's this beautiful, like, I don't know, turmeric color. Just absolutely beautiful find. I can't wait for the next craft exchange. Let's see what kind of treasures I get that I can use. I hope I have. It's at the end of June. I'm going to stop talking about it because I know that not everybody has one. But do, I mean, look for these craft exchanges. Maybe you have one. When I lived in Washington, they had a big art supply swap in the town that I lived in Everett, Washington, and you could go, and it was like a craft fair, and everybody had just booths, and they were selling their extra craft supplies. Sometimes you can find extra craft supplies. There was also a shop in, I think, Linwood, maybe not. It was down North Ballard, maybe, where they had a craft shop that you could get reused craft. People could donate their craft supplies and they could find new homes. This is coming right along. I like the fact that it's not perfect. I'm going to use this selvage edge because I just think it's pretty. I wonder if I turned it down. Maybe I should sew along there. I think I'm just going to glue this in. As is, as imperfect as this is, It's going to be a little bit more organic, I think, than like a lot of the rest of this book. And I'm just going to mix that in there and call it a juxtaposition of don't think so. I don't think so. What I do like is when there's a little bit of this fabric maybe poking up at the top. That is my personal preference. I'm gonna glue that down. I'm gonna glue that edge down so it gives it a nice piece like that. That is what I'm gonna do. So on the inside you'll have kind of this furry little bit of an edge. And we will try and do something similar at the bottom. So what I want is I want to leave some, so it's going to go down into this gutter. Yep. And I'm not going to sew it down, I'm just going to glue it down. And the question is, how much do I want to take off of the bottom for a similar vibe? It's not quite straight, and you know what? And it's not quite the same on the front and the back. And I think it's gonna be, that's fine. That is okay. I'm struggling with this piece of fabric. Not really struggling, I'm just playing. Struggling is kind of a strong word for this. Again, I'm going to unravel this, see if it's a little bit easier to unravel on this side, which I kind of feel like. The weft and the weave. You know it didn't want to tear on that. But this weave side, I suspect this is the weave side. Not that I am 100% sure about that. Loving all things fiber. I have definitely kind of wanted to. So that's going to be there because there's already just a fold in this fabric that is going to determine where that is. So I'm just going to go ahead and smoosh a little glue into there. And I'm going to put that down. And it's getting very smooshy. I just smooshed it in. And glue that baby down. So that's where that lives now, as they like to say, as I like to say. So now we have an edge there, and that's going to come right along there. And I'm lining that up so that it's more or less aligning with where our fabric is on the outside. It's a little bit bigger because I left it a little bit bigger. And part of that is so that I can work this down into this groove. And I just feel like that's too much on the bottom. And I don't know that it really matters. I guess we could make the top and the bottom differently. All of a sudden, maybe I'm hungry. There's this restaurant that I used to go to in Everett, and I don't know that it was like, I mean, it wasn't the best food, but I kind of liked just the way that restaurant was. And I kind of want to go there now, and I live in Tennessee now, and it is not anywhere near like a day trip to go there and do that. I do want to pull this kind of tight when I put it in here. Maybe I should tie this down at the top. Can we do that? Can we just put that top piece down and use that in our journal construction techniques here to get this piece in where we want it? I think that is a way to go. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Because we know where we want this, right? And as I mentioned before, I am going to smoosh that. And sorry if my head is getting in shot here. Okay, so maybe start in the middle, kind of moosh that down. I guess we could have aligned it. I want it to cover all the way to the top is what I want, really, or very nearly to the top, only because I want this to really cover up that spot where that fabric didn't quite come down as far. And what I want to do is grab my bone folder. Bone folder, where have you been? And just work this fabric together into that binding to kind of fill that gap and make this a very, this is going to be reinforcing where this book bends. And I'm not worried about it because, I mean, this fabric is going to definitely be strong enough to support that when we have these two layers going together. Okay. That makes us feel like, okay, so that's just tacking that down is going to help me figure out what I'm doing with the bottom up here. Because I wanted to be able to pull this tight before I cut this off probably a little bit to make it matchy-matchy. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be like a 3-hour video, guys. I'm so sorry. Unless I do some heavy editing. Thanks for crafting along. Okay. I think that we can do this way. Okay? I'm just afraid that this is going to stretch a little bit more. And you can make this neat if you wanted to, and you could tuck this underneath and you could sew an edge and make this like a very sewn piece and have the nice sewn edge. Just not my aesthetic here. And actually, I mean, the thing is like this is fairly loose, and once it gets glued down, it is going to be far less loose. I want to pull out all these wrinkles that way. So I can make this a little bit shorter than I'm really wanting to. A lot shorter than I want to. Because you can pull it down. See, that's too far. Maybe. No, that might be just right. Okay, let's go right there. and assume that we are going to be able to pull down as much as we need to. Okay. Finger pressing. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to add a little bit of glue here. And then I'm going to cut off some of those. So we'll make a little glue seam there. That's where that's going to live. Whew, okay. And then when we glue this down, we will pull it tight and work it in. And that's what is going to happen. Okay? All right, this is great because now I can add the glue. I am not going to cut any of that off of the bottom of there right now. I might change my mind later, but I'm going to say no to that for now. And we'll see how it goes. That's what we're going to do. I make no promises that I am going to actually do. I have lots of ideas. Some of them are good. Some of them I decide, nah, we don't really need to do that. I'm going to work this in here so that that will kind of help bind those two fabrics together. This cardboard is much easier if we do it that way. This is a labor of love. Did I just say how much I love to make books? I do, really, truly. There are parts of it that I love more than others. But once I get this glued down, it's going to, for sure, make this all worthwhile. Okay? This is a definite worthwhile endeavor. Okay. I'm mooring. Okay. I was so just enjoying the details and everything of this. And I still am. Let's get back to that place. No more worries. This is what we're doing. We have figured it out. It's just fun. It's a little bit of problem solving here, guys. That's all it is. It's gonna be okay. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? I think that like the stakes get higher the longer you go along. I have this book and I love how it's coming along, and now I have to worry about the part where I mess it up. Okay, and we're not worried about that at all because we are not going to mess this up. And you see, it's like smooshy smooshy. We have some room to play. And it's all working itself out. We'll have to attach that a little bit better, or we might wind up cutting it off. As I said, I called that one. Sometimes I was figuring it out as I go along. I mean, what's the best thing to do here? What's the best thing to do here? So this is going to have a sewn binding. We'll do a 3-fold pamphlet stitch, and we'll have 5 signatures. Hopefully they all still fit by the end of this. Oh, yeah. Yes. I am probably going to cut a little bit of that off at the bottom. Probably like right along there, so you won't see this like corner is going to go away. It's all working out. I don't like, see, I didn't smoosh the glue there. I did not, and because I didn't spread the glue out, I can now see glue up at the top, and I don't like that, but I think I'm going to let go of it, and that's just the way it's going to be here today, because that's just the way you get it sometimes. And so, or rather non-sewing today, I am going to cut this, and then I'm just going to pull out. I do want to cut this as straight as I can. And it's not completely straight. I think it's going to be hidden by the fact that we're pulling some of these threads out anyway. And also, like right here, it's going to be under the binding, and I think it's fine. I think it is absolutely beautiful. Let's get rid of some of these. Yeah, that. Okay, we did a good job. It was a bit more of a job than we thought. So we have this cover, and it is a cover. And you saw it here. I'm going to put just this corner. It needs to go down. I mean, this is not quite as straight as, you know, maybe it could have been. The book has plenty of room to open and close. It's reinforced in here. It feels a lot better now with that second fabric in there. Hoping to hold that together. That's going to hold together. This is great. This is a reminder. It's a learning experience. Oh no, what is that? Like some sort of crayon? Where did that even come from? My scissors. What? My scissors are falling apart for some reason. And they don't cut very well anymore. Anyway. That is the cover of this. I'm going to end this video now and let you enjoy this as it is. So I'm just going to do a pamphlet stitch, and I'm probably going to use like a black, just more scissors. Anyway, that is that, and that is a fabric and paper cover, and I think it is absolutely beautiful. I am getting rid of my sewing scissors and throwing them out probably right after this. Maybe not. I will see what I can do to help them. Maybe put some tape over them, washi tape. That's that. This is gorgeous. I love this a lot, guys. Thanks for watching, and I mean, I love the stitching. I'm happy that I got to do that because I have wanted to do that, and it looks great. And patience is the key, taking your time and just doing this. This is going to have these pages in it. The pages are here. This is going to be an absolutely beautiful journal. The pages are going to fit right in there. Everything's going to fit. And that will be a beautiful book. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share with a crafty friend. Let me know. Do you build your own journals? Do you want to? I hope so, because this is fantastic. I mean, the sense of accomplishment here is just great. I will see you next time at Scrapcraft and Stitchery. Thank you for joining. I love having the company while I'm here in my craft room. I will see you next time for something fun. Bye-bye.